For me, the measure of success is not how many doors are open to me, but how many people I bring through those doors with me. Always having a vision for yourself and saying, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? How do I want to make this happen? This is where networking comes into play.
So that's the N
in my VENTO Framework. That afternoon, she gave me a call with an executive director in that area. I was in an interview. Less than a week later, I started as a director. E for excellence in what you do, because when you're excellent in what you do, also it makes it easier for others to advocate for you. So they said because all the African events he's attended has never been well organized, well delivered, well executed. And then he used this word. He said because in his opinion, he feels the African community lacks capacity. Rather sitting there and complaining that, Nigerians, they're always disorganized, they never can do these things properly, every time we come together, we're never doing things properly, and so on, like people who stand there and moan. I was like, okay, I'll get up and do something about it.
Hello and welcome back to the Building Legacy with Nachie podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with remarkable African Australians who are reshaping culture, changing the narrative, and building legacies of their own right here in the diaspora. So the purpose of these conversations is not just to celebrate these African leaders, but we hope we can educate, inspire, and empower you to believe that it is possible to succeed and excel even on foreign land. So today, I am very honored to be joined here by one of such charismatic leaders in the person of Fred Alale AM.
Thank you, Nachie.
So much.
Good to be here with you today.
I am so honored. Thank you for taking time out of the busiest schedule I can ever think of to be here with me. It means so much to me. Thank you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. It's important to have this type of conversations, and what you're trying to do is something I very much support.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Means a lot. So let's do a quick background about Fred, our guest here today. It's not a quick one because Fred is doing a lot. Yeah. And we love that. We love to celebrate that. Yeah. But bear with me. So Fred has over 20 years experience in accounting, the finance and consulting area across various sectors and countries. So he's currently the Director of Financial Systems and Projects at the Department of Education in Victoria. He has extensive experience from 3 of the big 4 global accounting firms, including Deloitte, KPMG, and Ernst & Young, EY, as well as other government departments, such as the Department of Justice and Community Safety, the Department of Treasury and Finance, and the Department of Health. I told you he's all around. Yeah. He's also an active member of the African community and proudly a recipient of the Member of the Order of Australia for significant service to the African communities right here in Victoria. He's the co-founder and current chair of the African Music and Cultural Festival, which is the largest African festival in Australia, a 3-day cultural event celebrating diversity and harmony, packed with music, food, fashion, culture. They just had this year's about 2 weeks ago. Yep. And it was amazing. It was, you don't want to miss it next year if you've never been there before. He also serves on various boards and committees, such as the Victorian Government, Victorian African Communities Committee, so the VACC, the Huddle Advisory Committee at the North Melbourne Football Club, Africa Day Australia, and the Music Australia Council. I think he's a lover of music. So Fred is not just a leader doing all of these things, but he is also a mentor, inspiring African Australian professionals right here in Australia, in Victoria, through the Victorian Public Service African Australian Mentoring Program. But most importantly, Fred is a husband and a father to 3 amazing daughters.
Yes.
One of them is just on has got Fred on his lips, his 3-year-old.
Yeah.
But that is who our guest is today. Like I said, there's so much more to Fred.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're going to learn so much more on today's episode. So please stick with us. Once again, you're welcome, Fred.
Thank you.
And it is an honor and a pleasure to be having this conversation with you.
It is a pleasure to be here, Nachie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So our very first question to all our guests,
Okay.
just as the name of the podcast suggests, Building Legacy, what does legacy mean to you?
Wow, what does legacy mean to me? Look, legacy to me is taking the skills, experience, God-given talents that you have to help uplift other people. For you to not just have a view of what's in it for me and how far am I going myself. For me, the measure of success is not how many doors are open to me, but how many people I bring through those doors with me. That is the measure of success. Paying it forward, uplifting others, creating opportunities for others that didn't have the opportunities you had, being an inspiration to others, showing them that, you can, irrespective of barriers, irrespective of challenges, irrespective of situations that happen. That sometimes it's not just what happens to you in life that matters, it's also how you deal with what happens to you in life. So legacy for me is inspiring the next generation, inspiring my children, inspiring the wider community to achieve more. Because as some people say, you can't be what you can't see. So I want my legacy to be not just what I've achieved myself or for myself, but actually what we've achieved for the wider community. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Wow, I told you, he's full of gems and he's just started. But thank you so much. I think that encapsulates what this podcast is about, building legacy. You cannot be what you haven't seen. And for me, that's the purpose of having these conversations. For people to see someone like you and know that it is possible. Regardless of where you might have started from, the current barriers, your current circumstances, it is possible if you're willing.
Absolutely. I mean, I attended an event organized by African Youth Alliance, and it was a conference, African Youth Conference, sponsored by the Department of Education, and African Youth Alliance was the partner with the department there to pull it together. So I was asked to come and facilitate some sessions with some kids, and I was speaking during that session.
How old were they?
Sorry?
How old were the kids?
Oh, the kids were secondary school children. High school children. And I asked one of them when they were speaking, what would you like to be when you grow up? And she said to me, I want to be a dental assistant. I was like, okay, great. Not a bad career. And then I said to her, why not a dentist? And then she said to me, because my sister and older sister are all dental assistants. My auntie are dental assistants, and so on. So I want to be a dental assistant. And then I had to tell her that, look, why don't you consider being a dentist? Because actually dental assistants are all there with the procedures that the dentists do. Yes, the dentist is licensed to do all that, but they've seen all these things before. And there's a big differential in what your earning capacity for being a dentist to being a dental assistant. And, just like a light bulb in her eyes that, oh, okay, I could actually do that too. Which goes to show almost that you can't be what you can't see. In her own world, this child there, all she saw was just dental. And I'm not putting that type of profession down at all. But I'm just saying, at a young age, there's lots more opportunities open to her than other things in the world. And that's just one example of people I've seen, and not aiming high enough because of the environment they've been to and been accustomed to. So that's why, for me, it's very important to be that example. And also, I encourage other African Australians to go beyond just their professional, being focused on just their professional, but what else they can give back to the wider community. That there are lots of successful African Australians in the world in the worlds of business, government, and so on. But not many people actually take that time to say, how do I give back and how do I contribute to the wider community? And I can tell you, it's so rewarding. It's, just recently, her name is Peggy Gusso.
Yes.
She was a student. She was a legal student. I introduced her to one of the top QCs, now KCs, and is now actually a federal high court judge, who mentored her through university. So pulling them together, because I met that QC, King's Counsel now. QC is Queen's Counsel, now you've got a King, it's King's Counsel, at an event. And he said to me, how can I help you? How can I help your community? I said, well, you could help mentor like a couple of kids and so on for us students, and help them through. So I was able to link 3 African Australian legal students with him, and he helped them through university, like when they had tough coursework, he could give them practical examples, and they did placements at his chambers, and then later on it became even a high court judge, and a couple of them actually served as his associate. So great opening opportunities, and Peggy was one of those that just really used this opportunity and just shone. She took those opportunities that came her way with brilliance, and she's now in the president of the Afro-Australians legal network. Fantastic. And then she invited me to one of their legal moots, and I was just so proud. But then the most important thing, she's also paying this forward.
Yeah.
I've got another friend whose child is also studying legal, and Peggy is a mentor to that child.
Amazing.
My daughter is looking to study legal and criminology and so on. Peggy will be a mentor to, and as well as many things that she has done in her own capacity. So that just gives me so great satisfaction to pay something forward, and they also helping others in their own field, using their skills, amazing skills and experience to help others flourish. So yeah.
Amazing.
That's just one example.
Amazing. That is just one example. And I met Peggy during the mood.
Yes.
And that's where we met.
Yes, that's where we met.
That's where we met. And she is remarkable.
She's a remarkable girl. Amazing. Brilliant, outstanding, and it's just great.
To think that it's coming from you, your work, about being open and availing yourself to the African community, and not just keeping your experiences to yourself, but sharing it, and even inviting others in. The QC, the KC now, you invited him in, that this is how you can support our people.
This is how you can support our people, using your, because that's at the height of the legal profession, and the access he's got, the networks he's got, the connections he's got, that can help others, help uplift them. And he was able to do that.
Thank you for that. I think that's one of the stories that I've been following. We've just met recently, but I've been following your journey keenly on LinkedIn. And that's something that I must say it's inspiring. And I would say on behalf of the African community, thank you for that. Thank you for making time. I was speaking to Maya this week, and she said Fred is the kind of person that will be present when you get him. When you invite him, he is fully present. Regardless of his busy schedule, once he's there, he's fully present with you, and he will give you his absolute best.
Thank you.
For someone to say that not in your presence and with someone that we just met, that shows how outstanding you're doing, and the remarkable work you're doing in the community. And I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here.
So before Fred became Fred, the director, the leader that you were, let's go back to Fred's childhood. Where did Fred grow up?
Look, my childhood. I grew up, my background is Nigerian. Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian by background. It's a country in West Africa. It's the largest African country in Africa. And Africa, by the way, has got 54 nations. Africa is not a country. A lot of people get that wrong. And that's why when I refer to the African community, I will say African communities, because we're very diverse. And even within those communities, Nigeria, for example, has got over 270 different languages and tribes just in this one country alone. So very diverse. So I was born in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria, and to my dad, Solomon Oladimeji Alale, and my mum, Stella Alale, Bolanle Alale, and they were inspirational to me. Look, I didn't get to know my dad because unfortunately he passed away when I was about 3 years old. So, but then that then showed my mum's courage, strength, determination, tenacity came to the fore. Because it was a community that was very patriarchal. She had to fight and struggle to put us through school. My mum was one of those that said, look, no matter what, I know she's lost her husband, but she will educate us and give us all education to university level. There were 4 of us, 4 children with my mum. And in a society where, it's a man's world, even my dad's family weren't very helpful at all. When he passed away, was actually what was in it for them. It's like, and not very helpful. But mum was a very determined woman. She was a nurse by background, a psychiatric nurse, and a maternal or this midwife. That's it. Midwife by training. She trained in the UK, and I went back to Nigeria to work. But she just valued education, and she worked really hard to educate us. And also, even when the salary she was getting wasn't enough to put us through school, especially my older sister was 10 years older than me, and at university and paying school fees and so on, she took on business, and she would then travel to Benin Republic, go and buy outfits and print materials for women that they use for this print dresses. Ankara, yes, Ankaras, yes, that's it. She would go to Benin Republic, buy it over the border and sell it in Nigeria, so business. And, she was very entrepreneurial like that, and that's how she supplemented her income to put my sister and brother now through school. And very hardworking, determined, that irrespective, even without help from any of my father's side of the family, she just, we did have one of my father's half brothers, Uncle Toye, that was very, very lovely to us, but his own brothers and sisters and family were not, interested, and so on. But she was determined. So it was that determination and that zeal, that passion of a strong woman that helped also build that resilience in me, and also determination to succeed, and value of education. She valued education, that I will educate my children, and she did, and single-handedly took my sister all the way to university, to her first degree, and then my brother through secondary school education and nurse. And then I think when I was about 14, 15, so about 10 years later, she met somebody else, and my stepfather now, Kayode Oyegbite, and he's just been so amazing to us. He's still alive? He's still alive. Oh, they're together, now, mum and dad, I told them, and he's just been like a father to me since we met. Never needed anything or wanted for anything, and treated me no different. And and together, he worked then at the department, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, where he was a public health doctor, and that's where they worked my mum, because she was a nurse and a matron. She rose also not just to be a nurse, but to be a matron.
That's the highest
that you can do as a nursing grade in Nigeria. So that was another thing about my mother. It's like very go-getter business, and also rising through the professional circles.
I see where you get that
That's it.
from.
Yes, so she was nurse in charge of primary health care, and that's where she met my my stepdad, because he was in that area, and so on. They met each other, and then he also then got a position then as a special assistant to Minister of Minister of Health in Nigeria. And later on he got a job with UNICEF, World United Nations, as a public health specialist there. And that's where our fortunes also started to change, because UNICEF then could sponsor the children. And so we were accepted as the children too. And that's how we were able to go overseas, to go to the UK. And then go to college and university and get a job. And but it's for me then, it's always been those opportunities that we got, that especially starting from a family where you lost your father, you could have, my mom could have easily given up and, not be, but she was like, strong, I'm going to make you, educate you, make you a success. So that's determination, that tenacity, that passion, and taking opportunities, and also the value of education. So we always had that, and also taking opportunities that were given. And so those opportunities, when we went overseas to study, and so I always focused on it and did well. Like when I was in university, I knew then that, first of all, when it came to choose the course I wanted to study, I remembered my sister, one of my sister's boyfriends then, he worked for the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okay. And he came round. I liked how he wore a suit, had a nice car, and he told me about what he did with the center, and he was an accountant. And I was like, wow. I
was going to ask you where that vision comes
That was the inspiration to say, I want to be like you when you grow up. Again, this is a game about you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
Before that never crossed my mind.
To be an accountant?
To be an accountant.
So what did you want to be?
Oh, well, I was younger, so maybe not really framing. I didn't know. Okay. I was just, but so it was at a young age that, my sister was going out with this guy, and, I was okay.
How old
I want to be. Well, at that age, I would probably have been like about 14.
14. So up until 14, you did not really have an idea of what you wanted to be.
Didn't have an idea of what I wanted to be. No, not before then.
Okay.
And also then, you were also, just doing life, and
to just do what mommy is.
Yes.
Trying to make mommy proud.
Yes, but make mommy proud, and make the most of what we had. Yeah. We didn't have much, and so on, but we were okay, and so on. So that was what gave me that inspiration to be an accountant. And so when we then came over to the UK and I went to college and going to university, it was always going to be accountancy that I wanted to do.
That's all you had in mind?
Yeah, that's all I had in mind. So I had in mind that I wanted to be an accountant, and also I also knew that in the UK then I was an international student.
Okay.
And I also knew that when you finish university, you either go back to your country of origin, or you apply for jobs that got your work permits, and so on. And so it was thinking ahead that in 3 years' time when I graduate, how do I distinguish myself that other organizations will be willing to even do a work permit for me?
Okay.
And so thinking ahead, always having, and this will go to one of my framework for success. I've actually got a framework for success which I devised.
Tell me about it.
Okay, it's called a VENTO Framework for Success.
VENTO
is V is for vision.
Okay.
E in the VENTO is for excellence in what you do. N is for networking. T is for tenacity.
That's for mama.
Yes, mama. And O is for opportunities.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you a bit more about how I use this VENTO and how it all comes together.
When did you come about this?
This VENTO framework was not that I came about 2 years ago. Because people were telling me, how have you succeeded? What can we learn from you? And I actually boiled down to say, actually, if you do a few of these things there, I can guarantee you will be successful. And I'll tell you how I bring that VENTO framework to life.
All right.
So it's a 2 years thing that I came up with that.
Sweet.
So that university, starting from accessing university, applying for university course, and I went to university to study accounting and finance. But right at the start of that course, I was thinking, when I graduate, what are those opportunities? How do I create opportunities for myself? That's having a vision for yourself. That's what that vision is. Think 3 years, 5 years time, where do you want to be? Because if you don't, you then coast along and you don't have an aim and an objective. But if you know where you want to be, you start working towards that. And that is all very relevant. Even now, in my current job, I did a presentation with Oracle just yesterday. And I'll tell you again how having a vision for yourself helped make that happen. And so on. So always having a vision for yourself. 1 year, 3 years, 5 years time. So right from when I joined university, I worked really hard. I did not play around or mess around. I wanted to graduate with good grades because that way I knew it would be easier for companies to want to sponsor me. They think, oh, I've got this brilliant person there. So I started, my first year, I became the representative for my course, accounting and finance course. I studied really hard. I also got some prizes in like DP Connect Audit Prize, technical accounting. Accounting almost came naturally to me too. That was the other thing.
Did you ever know? Did you know you were good at maths before you met your sisters?
Interestingly, accounting again is a misconstrued. It's not always about maths.
Okay.
You just have to be average maths. Something.
Okay.
Because it's all about concepts. Okay. So, for example, I remember doing T accounts, which is debits and credits in accounting, and some people struggled with that. And for me, in my head, I just said, whatever transaction it is, I will just be thinking, am I increasing my assets or am I reducing my asset? If you're increasing your asset, it's a debit. If you're reducing your asset, it's a credit.
Yeah. Okay.
Then thinking, am I increasing my liabilities or am I reducing my liabilities? Increasing your liabilities is a credit. Reducing your liabilities is a debit. That's
so it. That was you coming up.
Yes. And so whatever it is, so when we did T accounts and they'll throw all these transactions and you tell this something, I scored 100% my T in
with that mindset.
With that mindset.
Yeah.
And so that's why I got the DP Connect auditing prize, and nobody in the history had scored 100%. It's been close to 100% and so on in there. But because anything you say to me is like, oh, Mr. Smith went to the shop and purchased an item in cash for 500, a stock item in cash. What's the transaction for that? Because it's a cash transaction, you're spending cash, so that cash will be a credit because you're reducing, because you're going out, you're reducing your assets. But it's now a stock item, you buy a stock from it, you're increasing your asset in that. That's a debit. So you go to the stock, debit your stock.
So the cash is credit and
debit is that, your stock.
Whoever is the accounting student.
There we go.
Notes. Yeah.
So yeah, and or you say, you pay down a debt or something in there. Again, you reduce your debt, you buy, an amount is owing for $500. And so, again, it's coming out of your account because you're reducing your assets in that bank account. So that's a credit. But then in your liability, because you were owing a liability before, it's now going down. It's a debit in your liability. So credit, debit in there. So I'm sorry for being boring in accounting. For those accountants, it's just about, are you increasing your assets? Are you increasing your liabilities?
And it's a good one you pointed out that it's not just about maths.
It's not just about maths. It's not just about maths. It's the concept of that you need to just grasp. And once you've grasped those concepts, then it's also about financial strategies and how, business work and how you can advise people. So it's not just math. It's not, you just need to know, okay, yes, you put a lot of figures there and how to add things together, or you just need is basic to average math. You don't need to be brilliant to be an accountant.
Practical life experience,
practical knowledge, and so on.
Yeah.
That's it, and experience in that, and you can learn this. So that's how. So I became the rep for my course. I became the faculty rep for the business faculty, and and then I also graduated with a first class honors in accounting and finance.
So in all of this, did you have a mentor? Did you have someone aside from mom?
Yeah.
Did you have someone pushing you, inspiring you, giving you telling you?
So I think it's mom and dad.
Okay.
Because dad always told us stories about being diligent and whatever it is you're doing well, do it well. Be known for doing good jobs. Be known for not for being reliable. That's that excellence. VE in my VENTO Framework is excellence in what you do. Whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. A lot of people don't understand that concept. That they think, even if it's volunteer, that they're not going to turn up on time because you're volunteering. No, even though you're volunteering, you're saying something, be professional at it. Let people know you for your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Sometimes some things happen, but communicate this to people that this is what is happening and so on, and not just keep quiet and so on in there. When I say to my boss that I want to get something done, or she asks me to get something done, she knows I'm going to get it done. If there are issues with it, I'll go back to her and tell her that, look, we've got some challenges here. Maybe we need to reframe this time, or even seek, and they will also appreciate that you're getting them involved in problem solving there, and life will be easier. Not just quiet and pretend to see it's not happening, or there are no issues, and then it happens, and then there's no,
you get called
out, and a lot of things in there. Be excellent in what you do. Whatever is worth doing is worth doing well.
That's very biblical as well. The Bible says that in everything you do it as though you're doing to God and not for man.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, absolutely. So that excellent. E for excellence in what you do, because when you're excellent in what you do, also it makes it easier for others to advocate for you. People want to have you on their team. People that you're asked to be a mentor and coach will want to coach and mentor you, because they also know that you will make them shine. I give the example of Peggy Gusso there, that I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to introduce her. Well, because she's an amazing woman on her own. She took the excellence and made it happen on her own, in her own right. So she took the opportunities and was excellent. If she didn't do the clerkship very well, if she didn't do that, she wouldn't have got those other opportunities she got. So yes, she was, linked her in to give her that wider opportunities, but she grasped it, which is the O in my venture, taking opportunities that are given to you. It's up to you. Nobody will give you on a plate. You need to go out and look for opportunities to develop yourself. You need to work hard for something. You don't, people make that mistake. Some people make that mistake. I recently had a situation with a mentor, a mentee, that did not put in the work needed to make themselves excellent, did not put the hard work, and they just thought that because either they know somebody or because other things that they would just get things handed to them on the plate. And also, there's also something around being self-aware. They weren't self-aware about themselves. They came from a VPS 4 level. They got a position to act in a VPS 5, and without even mastering that VPS 5, they then asked me that, this VPS 6 level has become available. So it's like, you're a regular worker, you got a supervisor, some position, and
you
you're
wanna
not
be-
even, you hadn't even been 6 months in that supervisor position, and say, oh, there's a
On a
manager
managerial-
position in there, and I think I can do it too, and so on. And I'm like, because even that supervisor position
You're
getting,
not showing excellence.
you're
in that
not
yet.
showing excellence in that. I'm not hearing everything in that. And then when it came to that role coming to an end, and they needed some other skill sets, and they also wanted certain things in their minds which was not aligned with the business objectives that they were in. They wanted to do something which had nothing to do with the business. I'm like, if you want opportunities in here, you should master what they do and make yourself invaluable in that area. They did not do that. And so when later on the thing came to an end, they went, that's a comment, just ended, where they could have used as a springboard. Now, this person I introduced to even a very senior executive who was like almost a mentor. And they thought maybe because you had that, but that senior executive cannot advocate for you
Without
if
you
you're
showing
not
excellence.
showing that
Yeah.
excellence.
Do you think that's an issue with the young people now? Like they expect things to be handed over to, especially with this age where there's microwave, you get things given to you just like that without showing any.
Look, I've seen it in some situations too with some young people where I don't feel they've got that zeal, and they don't have that tenacity, they don't have that drive, and they think it should be easier. But at the same time, I've also seen some young people that have really grasped this opportunity, and they've also made it work really well. I mean, Peggy's one of that. I've mentioned
You're
so
really
many
proud of your
times. So
mentee.
proud of her, of her own opportunities in creating that. She's just one, but there are many others too. But so it's that. So yeah, anyway. So graduated with a first class honors in accounting and finance. And then because I studied in accounting and finance, I wanted to work for a big 4 consulting firm, because as an accountant, that's almost the pinnacle. You want to work in the professional services because you get the best training, best experience and so on. But because I was an international student in London, I applied to all these jobs, and despite with my first class honors, I still couldn't get in because for every job application they had, like, I don't know, about 10,000 people applying for it. So for them, it's like they don't have time. Not many, but they wouldn't. It will filter out that apply for a work permit now, whatever. So that filters out.
So they don't even have the time to look at
They don't have the time because you're not already got to filter out, because they've got so many others and so on. So look, if I was them trying to handle all these people, yes, you would. That would be your criteria. So that was what. I couldn't get in there.
So where did you start from?
And then I then thought, what can I do to make myself even more desirable? So then I talked to my mum and dad. They said, hey, if they were able to support another year for me to actually finish my professional accounting qualifications. So yes, I had a degree in accounting finance, but to become a chartered accountant,
the ACCA,
you needed to also have pass exams. And because I'd studied accounting and finance, I got exemption from about 8 out of the 14 papers.
Oh wow.
So I only had to do 6. And so they supported me for another year, where I did 3 papers in 6 months, studied, and then did 3 papers, and then studied and did another 3 papers. So the aim was also, again, having a vision for myself, make myself very attractive to employers, to say, yes, they need to get a work permit, but this guy is already passed this exam. All he needs to do is just get this experience. So I applied, I did that, studied for 1 year, and I passed my first 3 and then finished my last 3 exams. Then I applied to some, I hadn't got the results then, I applied to a few accounting businesses. Still the big 4s were not an option at that point because I still needed a work permit. But some other firms then got me for an interview because they could see you had first class honors and also you've now passed. So they don't need to give me time off. All they need to just train me, and then I will be able to help their clients. So, but I got a job in Bristol, which is 2 hours from London.
Oh wow.
Packed from home, all the way to Bristol on my own, set up, started working for this organization there. And this business there helped train me, got a work permit for me.
Oh.
And they said, when I get my results, they give me a pay rise. Now, they weren't paying me much. They were actually underpaying me because compared to what other people were getting, yeah, they were underpaying me by like at least about £10,000 at that point. But they said, when you get your result, we'll give you a pay rise. So I'm like, okay. So when I got my results, I passed the result, I showed them, and then they gave me a £500 pay rise. So I went from...
Per year?
Per year, yes. I went from, I think, they paid me 10,500 and then they increased it to 11,000 in that.
So they didn't see your value in...
Because, they took the advantage that because they had a work permit for me, they felt they'd lock me in and so on. But again, this was about that tenacity and vision for yourself and having. So when they gave me that $500 pounds pay rise, I was like, okay, interesting. I just started talking to a few other recruitment consultants there to just say what's available there, and they now seeing that I've now had my colleagues about 4 or 5 months of work experience. I already had a work permit, although that work permit could not be transferable, but it needs to be, a new employer would need to reapply, but you've got one before, there's no reason why you won't get one again for that area. And there's this recruitment consultant said there was this opportunity with Screwfix Direct. They are like, they do mail order, catalog, internet for B&Q. It's the equivalent of Bunnings in the UK.
Oh,
so
okay.
Very big. And as a management accountant. And so they were interested in me and went for the interview, and they said, yeah, we'll do the work permit for you, and did the work permit, and instantly almost doubled my salary in that time. I went
being
brave, being not settling for less, having a vision for yourself, being tenacious, taking opportunities that are presented to you. There are other people that I started with at that firm that's probably still in that firm now, probably earn a tenth of what I do right now. But it's like not settling for yourself and knowing your worth, but still being excellent and being, having substance to back it up. So I got to work for Screwfix Direct, and I worked with them for a while, and they were growing phenomenally. They were growing from, when I joined, I think they were like 25 million, then they went to like 35 million, then 50 million, then they went to 75, 100 million.
In annual sales?
In annual sales. They were just going gangbusters. Screwfix Direct was...
And they're still there?
And they're still there.
Okay.
They're still there. I don't know, they're probably over $1 billion now and so on in revenues. It was just going phenomenally. And then they wanted me to just focus, rather than owning the entire account, to focus just on the margin side of things. And I was like, nah, I still needed the practical experience. I needed to own the account to get my letters, to get my qualification. Although I passed the exams, you still need to sign up that, you can prepare a set of accounts, you can analyze certain things. So there's some things I needed. Requirements to tick off. So whilst that job was really good, paid me well, and they also had a final salary, which is unheard of, I could stay there and just be there, cruise and so on, in a nice job, just looking at the margin. I was like, nah, there's more to it. So again, when I just looked for some other jobs, I took another job with a manufacturing firm. This was another opportunity for me to learn a different area, from retail, mail order, to manufacturing, and also honing on sort of my management accounting skills, costings. So just broadening out my knowledge, my accounting knowledge. So I went to work for Doncaster's in Chard there, and under there again, at the time, so I got to increase my salary from moving from one to the other. And I had this great CFO, Chief Financial Officer there, who gave me a lot of responsibility. When he wasn't there, I was like the acting CFO, and I learned all aspects of the business, from from the P&L to costing to the balance sheet to managing people, contractual, commercials, and that's where I got my qualifications under him. That's CFO. His name is Darren Smith.
Are you still in touch with Darren?
Not just I am very much in touch with Darren. Darren is actually the godfather to all my 3 children. So from my 17-year-old to my 14-year-old to my 3-year-old, where we went back to the UK about a year and a half ago to go christen, Darren is still very much in our lives, a very important part of our life. Darren Smith.
That's another thing I'm getting from you. You honor people. You know how to honor people.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they've played in your life.
Yeah.
You know how to, and that's honorable in itself.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. And so Darren is still very much, and we're planning to go to the UK June 2026. Every time we go, we spend at least a few days with them, with their families. And we actually, Claire and I are actually godparents to their 2 children too.
Beautiful.
So we are to their 2 children. So we're very close from that perspective. And he's doing well. And so, yes, worked there also for a while, and then we got married. It was easier for me to move to London with my accounting qualification. I could work anywhere than for Claire to leave the firm she was with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals then.
So Claire was also in London?
She was in London.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals.
Pfizer. The same Pfizer.
The same Pfizer.
From COVID.
Yes, from Pfizer. Yep, Pfizer, yeah. It was. They worked with them in London. And it was easier for me to move to London. And so I moved from the southeast to southwestern, from Yeovil in Somerset in the UK, back to London. I joined Mayborn Hotel Group. They own Claridge's, Connaught and Berkeley hotels, luxury hotel chains. It was great experience. I learned to develop other skills in finance, especially around consolidations, more financial accounting knowledge, which is good. But I wasn't really engaging with people in the business. And I guess I'm a people person. I like to deal with people. I like to help them improve. And so just in the office doing financial consolidation, I didn't like that job as much because of that. Although I worked for prestigious brands, I wasn't actually in the hotels. I was in the head office somewhere in Mayfair. It was grand and nice in Mayfair, but not in the office, not engaging with the product, dealing with people as much.
But you're a people person. So all these previous jobs you've had, were they similar to this one? Or were they more people focused?
The previous job was more people focused. Okay. So when I was with Screwfix, people focused. I dealt with people there. When I was with Doncaster's, dealt with people, and I really enjoyed it because when I'm there with people, what I also like to do, again, about excellence in what you do, is not just do the job, but look to do the job better. So when I was in Doncaster's and in Screwfix Direct, I helped increase and improve their month-end reporting. They used to take over a week to do their month-end reporting. I automated a lot of their spreadsheets, a lot of the things, avoided manual entry, automated it with formulas and using Excel then, and reduced their month-end from over a week to about 4 days to prepare that. So I was showing how you can improve things. I still had my vision of working for a Big Four. And a Big Four. So in
all of this, you still wanted to.
I still wanted to work for a Big Four, but I knew it wasn't the options open to me then. And when the desirable is not available, then the available becomes desirable. I have to make the most of the cards I'm dealt. Not moan, not
say that
cry
again.
about it. When the desirable is not available, then the available becomes desirable. And also, you need to make the most of the cards you're dealt. So that's my restriction. I'm not going to go, I'll make the most of it, and then we'll see how it goes. So when I was in Screwfix Direct, improved the process. When I went to Doncaster's Chart, again, improved the month-end process and make life easier. Train people on how to read their accounts, the non-finance people on how to read their budgets. Help automate the budget process. People that had never looked at the budget started to look at the budget. So when I went to Maybot Hotel Group and I didn't deal with that, I didn't like it that much. Then I got another role, I got another job. Then as Thistle, it was a cluster financial controller area financial controller for Thistle Hotel Group. There I looked after 6 hotel chains in the Thistle Group, also called Gorman Group. I looked after Charing Cross, Victoria, Westminster, Hyde Park, Trafalgar Square, 2 in Trafalgar. And I love that role because I got to deal with the food and beverage managers, so the restaurant managers, got to deal with the housekeeping managers, and I helped them understand the impact of their decisions on the finances. So, for example, I remember sitting in one of the food and beverage managers in the restaurant with him, and it wasn't a busy time. It was about 10 in the morning, and he had a full complement of staff there, and it wasn't as busy. And I'll say to him, those are your profits. That's your margin walking around there in terms of your staff. That what you need to do is to be smarter about your rostering too, and look at the busy periods that you have. So I know how you roster people on. Now, rather than having every full complement throughout, it's like maybe stagger the time and maybe a few there, and then in the lunchtime when it's really busy, that's when you have them in there. And so showed them that, and it was like a light bulb moment. And then when they started making those changes, and they started and I would go and sit with them with the annual account and the monthly account, and they could see it, and they could see the improvement in their margin. They were really, and actually, they will be calling me when they get their accounts, even before the next meeting with them, to say, Fred, this is what I was expecting, or actually it was better than I expected. I didn't think this was that. And they will now increase the interest in the account.
Morale, that's increasing morale with them. They feel like they're part of.
Yes, they took ownership of finance and so on. And I also run finance for non-finance managers. Of course, I ran that training, helping them understand what is the gross profit, net profit, what they can control and what they can't control, how they can avoid wastage and so on, and saying that impacts your margin. It's like, looking at your orders, looking at how you manage it and doing your stock and all those things. So bringing those things to life concept, giving them invaluable life skills, many of whom too then could then go to even top restaurants in London, having understood the concept of finance. They weren't just managing people or just doing, they could understand how do that. And actually, that was the downside in that a few of them
with these skills,
got jobs with that. But hey, for me, it's about developing people, and new people, I'll train them, and also taught my team there to train and run those type of courses too, so it could be sustainable. Even if you get a new person, you train them on it. So that's what I did with that job. And then the Big Four then started to recruit, because it was post-Anderson Enron crisis where they got rid of all their consulting. And then after a while they said, we can now rebuild our consulting practice. So they were now expanding their consultancy. And at that point then, I no longer needed a work permit. I had worked for 5 years, and so you get a residency based on that. I already was a resident. And so they needed a work permit to apply for them. And because of all the experience I've had with various businesses, being excellent to what I do, showing improvements in what I do, not just doing the job, but making the job better. In all this work I did with Screwfix Direct, with Doncaster's Child, the manufacturing firm, I got a placement there. They offered me a job with Ernst & Young as a senior consultant. So I joined as a bit more senior rather than a graduate or consultant with more experience higher. So,
would it have taken you similar years to get to that position, or was it like...
it probably would have. I mean, look, maybe if I was a graduate and I got some really good jobs, maybe I would have got there quicker.
Okay.
But so it might have taken maybe 1 year or two longer, or maybe just about, because then too depends on, it's your performance, it's the opportunities you get and how much you make of it, that you get that promotion. So that's how I got into consulting. So after, even though it wasn't open to me, I had that vision, I wanted to work for them. I started to work towards it and being excellent to what I do, and then being tenacious too in terms of not giving up. Not saying, oh, because it's not available now, you're not going to do it, and so on. So that's how I got to the Big Four Consulting. And so I working for them. And then we came to Australia on honeymoon, to Sydney and Cairns.
Okay.
We were in Sydney, Haverside, looking the world go by. And my wife was like, wow, what a great life. People seem relaxed, chilled out, everyone in suits. They had their lunch bags, sitting on benches, watching the world go by. There was a class being taught with a teacher, and the children were sat around the teacher. I was like, wow, what a life. And my wife was like, do you think we can live here? I was like, I don't know, let's find out. Go on the computer, checking it, accountancy was on the shortage occupation list. And I applied myself, got the visa as a highly skilled migrant. And
So
that's how the story to Australia. And then I spoke to a colleague who was working, I was at EY in the UK, I spoke to a colleague who was on secondment and said, what do you guys do in a similar thing in Australia? He said, send me your CV, I'll send it to a partner. He was from Melbourne. So even though the decision to come to Australia was Sydney, the guy was from secondment in Melbourne. He sent it to a partner in Melbourne who said, Fred, when you're here, I'd like to meet you. Then we had to come in after 9 months of being issued that visa, and actually with that visa story, I remember when they said, "Yep, approved. Go and do the test." I was actually can't do the test now because my wife is pregnant, and they said, and so we couldn't do the scan. They said, "No problem. We'll wait until the birth of your child," and so on. That's what they were so good. They said, we'll keep it on hold until the birth of your child. And when the baby was born, they just added the baby to the application, and we did the something, and they approved it. That was it. And anyway, so we came on the recce of Australia. We came to Melbourne, met the partner. Partner read my CV and talked to me and said, Fred, when would you like to start? Was the question. And I was like, actually, I'm not sure because we just got a baby. The baby was 9 months old then when we did the tour. I said, oh, family connections. I'm not actually sure if we want to go to Australia at the moment now.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, let's keep in touch. And I said to him, what is important to you? What areas are you finding valuable in Australia? And he said to me, healthcare and financial services. And I said, financial services I can't do in the UK because I need to physically move practice to a financial services firm. It's very heavily regulated. But healthcare I can do. So when I went back to the UK, I started focusing on working with health organizations because again, vision for myself that what I might need to do if I'm going to Australia, that's the type of skill set that will be required and they're looking for in there.
How did you come about with all these life skills, these practical knowledge? Like who was your mentor aside from mom and dad?
Yeah.
Who had been feeding you with all these gems?
Yeah, look.
How old were you at this time?
I would have been, I think, about 25.
See, like not every 25-year-old man, or would I even say boy? 25-year-old man thinks that way.
Yeah. Look, I think it's just always been driven by, it's the values my mum and dad, and they will always touch base with us and saying, how are we going? What are you doing? And so on. So we always had that guidance too from them on thinking about the future. And I also always thought ahead to say, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Even now, where I am, I'm still thinking ahead.
I know you were thinking. I know there's something you want to do.
And so on. Then we that's what landed us in Australia with EY. So we said to them, we went back to the UK, and then continued working on focus on healthcare. And 9 months later, the partner that interviewed me sent me an email, said, Fred, are you still keen on coming to Australia? Because this will be a good time. So that was the trigger we needed. Sent it to my wife to say, hey, got this email. What do you think? Let's pull the trigger. I was like, yep, that was a decision to leave. I'm coming to Australia. Pack up, lock, stock and barrel with a 2-year-old then. So actually a bit more than a year. And then, I then moved over to Australia, joined Ernst & Young, started working. And then, from
as a senior manager?
It was still a senior consultant level. I came as senior consultant. because I didn't know the market. But then I got promoted to manager there, and then the partner that brought me over moved to KPMG and said, Fred, would you like to come along with me? I moved with him to KPMG. And
is that what happened?
Yep, that was it. And it was at KPMG I worked, and then I got promoted to associate director in that one. And then I also worked with KPMG for about 4 or 5 years. And then I thought, oh, look, let me try Deloitte. It feels they do a few IT stuff, and I wanted to keep sharp in there, but I was just with them for about a year. And then I joined government.
So tell me about the transition to government, because I was going through your career progression. I'm like, this is such a sharp pivot.
Yeah.
Like from retail business.
Yes.
Big four
but
government.
Even when I was in consultant, I always loved government.
Is it from your dad?
No,
the background of your dad?
No, look, maybe it's just me liking to do something that helps improve that my family, myself, my family, and the wider community can benefit from, as opposed to just helping one business make more money. So I worked with Department of Defense, although people can argue that's a bit of whatever. But I also worked with health, helped improve healthcare organizations. I worked with Department of I did a piece for Department of Education briefly, but mostly health. That I worked in health and defense that I worked with when I was with.
So with the Department of Health, would you say you got that experience, or you pivoted from the experience with EY when that guy told you, when he asked you of your interest and he said healthcare?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, that's why. Maybe that's one of those things, because even when I came here, I then focused on a lot of healthcare work. And so continue to build on that. So yes, because I knew it was a big area that they were looking to improve and working on, and health services that needed help around. So yep, that built on that. So yeah, so that was what I was doing until I got into government with Department of Treasury and Finance as a senior manager there. And did that work for a while, and COVID happened. And again, opportunities. There was an opportunity to go and act, to go and support during the lockdown towers. So I put my hands up that I would go and work as an executive during that lockdown towers and help out to make sure those tower residents felt supported during this time. And I didn't just do that job, I did it so well that people saw me there, and they were recommending when after the lockdown towers, and they needed a wider program to support all the towers across Victoria. Then they needed some executives to do that. They were the one that suggesting me to say, get this guy.
You did not even apply for it?
I didn't apply for it. It was like, this guy did such an outstanding work there, we need him. Again, excellence in what you do. What is what you're told? Do it well. So I did that. You were noticed for doing some great jobs there, and they were like, there's this opportunity there, would you like it for that? So I took that job for that was about 4 months too, and then that gave me executive level experience, director level experience. And then once that came to an end, there was also this is where networking comes into play.
So that's the N
in my VENTO Framework. So when I finished that role, I had this executive level experience. I felt my mind, my brain, my capabilities just so exploded and opened up. And then I went back to the senior manager role that was, just mundane, it wasn't as engaged anymore. I just felt I had so much more to give and so on in there. And then I sent a text message to 3 deputy secretaries. So deputy secretary is just one level below the secretary in the department. And I just said to them, hey, I've now been in government for about 3 years as a senior manager, and I've also had a couple of experiences at executive level, which I really loved and thrived at. And I'm looking for my next level to be an executive. If there's anything that you have in mind or that comes across, please keep me in mind. One of the deputy sec did not respond to me. One responded and said to me, Fred, I don't have anything at the moment, but I'll keep you in mind and let's keep talking. Another one now replied back to me and said to me, Fred, I might have something for you. I might give you a call later on this afternoon. Later that afternoon, she gave me a call with an executive director in that area. I was in an interview. Less than a week later, I started as a director.
In families?
Sorry?
Department of Family?
No, this was Department of Justice and Community Safety.
Community Safety.
DJ, sir, yeah. So that COVID role was when I did with Department of Health and Human Services, then with that DFFH that's that COVID role. That was just for a short, like 4 months and so on in there. But this one as policy, director of policy, and also set up the enforcement review office. So this was a capability that government did not even have widely to issue fines to business for non-compliance during COVID. Department of Health could do it, but they didn't have many authorized officers. They didn't have, but they needed to build that capability, including even the system to issue those fines, including the processes behind reviewing and accessing the fines, compliance with all the legislation. I had to build that team and build that capability for them from scratch. Not only that, I also built a system that could generate it, to automate it so it's not manual, because we had to do it manual straight away, but then we now built in a new system. So that's why I also built a lot of my system experience too, as in implementing systems. So, and I did this role for about a year and a half, 18 months, and then the COVID sort of cycle wound back, and it now became, the vaccines was readily available and so on, so no need to be emergency mode anymore. And so they were shutting down that operation in DJ Sarah, which they did. And then there was an opportunity that came along with Department of Education then as a director, and applied because of the experience I've got setting up systems, this Salesforce systems. I was able to build on that. And again, even that was through a network. There was a DepSec that was available there, and I was meeting from time to time. It was like a mentor to me. So I just thought to my my role is coming to an end there. I could go back to the Department of Treasury as that manager, but it wouldn't be, I've got this experience and so on, I'm looking for that next one. And he said to me, I don't have any roles per se in there, but I know they've got, except if you were interested in a finance type role and so on. And I was like,
I'm a finance guy.
I'm a chartered accountant.
Also, he didn't
even know, because he knew me in the community. And maybe another story of even why we started AMCF is another one that I could touch into. So he knew me in the community and all the active in the community. He never
knew you as a financial
accountant. And a lot of people also say to me, I'm not the typical type of accountant.
Oh yeah, I think you're currently in your... I don't know what you wanted to do in future or your aspiration, but I think whatever you're currently doing, I don't even know about the Department of Education, but in terms of community and stuff, that's what I think when I see a mayor or something.
Anyway, he was still that networking. And he said, I've got this job. I said, I'm a chartered accountant. Yes, I'm interested in finance. Really? Okay, send me your CV. Sent it to the CFO. I was even able to have a chat with them to understand what it is the role was about and so on, how the structure worked and so on. And then they released the position to that, and I applied. It was a competitive process and so on. And because I, maybe known a bit more about the roles, about what they do, about the people, found out about that. That helped me really understand the concept and so on. And I got a job. In that one, I got my first permanent, not short-term job as a director. And that's how I've been in that role.
So this is your first permanent ongoing?
First permanent ongoing director role with the Department of Education. And one of the key things I had to also deliver as part of that was there's this project called the Oracle Cloud Project. They've been trying to do it for a few years. They've not been going, and I had to make that happen because it was a top priority for the department, and I'm so glad we delivered it last April. After a long journey that
congratulations.
So
I think you've done something similar recently. I saw something about Oracle on AI.
So that job we did was such a masterpiece. It was such a success that Deloitte, who were the system integrators that we worked with, so our partners that helped us make that happen, system integrators, along with us, wanted to showcase it as a success story of saying, hey, if you go to Oracle Cloud, because there are benefits of having a cloud system in Oracle. It's standardized, you get quarterly upgrades, so all the security, you get latest best practice systems, you change your practices to world class because that's what the system is based on. It's more intuitive, you use a better user experience. Many other benefits of going to the Oracle Cloud system, also visibility of your costs, expenses, revenues, everything you get, and also better information for management decision making. So Deloitte wanted to showcase that. Oracle, who are the product owners, wanted to showcase this is a big client to us, the Department of Education. We are 16 billion annual revenue and the largest employers in Victoria because we employ all the teachers in the schools, in the state schools. So
16 billion.
Yeah, 16 billion revenue or budget in there. So they wanted to showcase with us, and so they invited me and my boss, the CFO, to say, come and talk about your success stories and what can other people learn from you. So even that delivery that I did, again, is about excellence in what you do.
Being welcomed back.
Being welcome. So when I say, okay, I'm looking ahead now, I've done that, I've delivered that, what's the next thing?
What's the next thing for you?
So yes, look, my aim, I want to stay in government. I want to be that more examples. Right now, there's only one or two people, maybe two, that are more senior than me of color in the department and in the whole Victoria government.
Okay, of color, African or?
African. So one is Zimbabwean.
Okay.
And the other one is I think he's either of Sri Lankan background. So when I saw color, but African, I only know one other African that's more senior than me in Victorian government. There are maybe 2 or 3 others at my level. I'd like to get at least a couple, get the executive director, get to the deputy secretary level. I want to continue to be that example to others of what is possible when you apply excellence in what you do. You have a vision for yourself. You build your networks for yourself, and you're tenacious, never giving up. It's not letting things happen to you, because I've had setbacks in my life too. I've had setbacks career-wise and so on, but not letting those things define you. And it's like, picking yourself up, being with grit, and like, yep, I'm going to do that. Like my mum said, she could have crushed under family members when she lost my dad at an earlier age, and just giving up, but she was like, I'm going to take my children, I'm going to educate my children, I'm going to take them to school, whatever it takes, sweat, and she did that. It's those strong core values in education and taking opportunities that presents themselves. So yeah, I know I was given the opportunity because my stepfather had a job with the UN, and they gave me the opportunity to go and study overseas. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had that opportunity, and I've been making it in Nigeria. I'm sure I would still have done best and so on. But
with those values,
But that gave me the opportunity, and I grasped it and made the most of it, and continue to make the most of it. So yeah.
I think your life, it's your career, especially what you're currently doing now, it's kind of full circle. Like your education, and in finance.
Yeah.
Those two things that when you spoke about your trajectory, education, mom, big on education, did everything she can to make sure that the 4 of you got the best of it. And then you met your sister's then boyfriend, and you're like, I want to go into this. And it's funny that now you're doing both of it.
Yes, I agree. And sorry, that vision too, I told you, I said, so you mentioned I did this presentation with my boss, the CFO, at the Oracle AI World Conference in Melbourne last Thursday. And this week, 2 days ago, a year ago, I attended that conference, and they were taught as just a delegate and attendee, and learning about what new things in there. And I spoke to the lead partner. We had already started that Oracle project then. We hadn't finished it, and we said next year we can come back here with Tonella to tell about that success story of the club. And I was like, yeah, why not? Why can we not stand up there and tell about our success story? So again, when it's a vision for yourself, that 1 year's time, I want to be on that stage. I want to be talking about the success of our project. Again, we worked really hard to it, both Deloitte, both us, a partner of the team, saying we've got a target there that we want to be on that stage to be talking about it. And as it happened, we almost prophesize something to yourself, but have that vision for yourself that that's where I want to be. Not just, oh, we're doing a project, okay, we'll see how the project goes, maybe we'll not. No. It's like, this is the roadmap. This is what we're going here. Next time we want to be on that stage. I want to bring my boss, who's not directly involved, or supports me and so on, but to come and talk about the success of the project. And that's what we made happen. The CFO of a 16 billion organization, to talk about our success story. We had that vision for that a year ago. So when I'm saying that vision, always having a vision for yourself and saying, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? How do I want to make this happen? And just visualize it for yourself, and you will just see things starting to happen and taking you through that way. You will be making subconscious decisions. Subconscious, you just see, but if you don't know where you're going, it's difficult to get there. Maybe that's when you coast along and so on.
And life just happens to you, and you just suck it in.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. At the African Music and Culture Festival.
Yes, let's go into that. Your community stuff. I love that aspect about you, because when I see it, I'm like, yes, he's not just a business or commercial, he's also a community man.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came to Australia and I started work in EY, Ernst & Young then, a colleague of mine came, said, Fred, there's something happening at Fed Square. It's like a Nigerian thing. I think you mentioned you've got Nigerian origin. Okay, I'll go check it out. And I went to this event. It was in the atrium. They had a display of some African artifacts and by the Nigerian Society of Victoria. The president there was Dr. Razak Balogun. And I met him. And he said, oh, good to meet you, and so on. And he said to me, we've got an Independence Day happening in a few weeks' time. Come to the Independence Day. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll come. So I went to the Independence Day with my wife and then baby. I think we still got a photo of her at the Independence Day. And when at the Independence Day, things weren't very organized. We were there, the food wasn't being served on time, the flow wasn't just working so well. So much so that, I just said to my wife, look, just give me a while, I need to just go into the kitchen and see what I can do there. So I went in there, organized the foods into different things, into different trays, and I was just pushing it all around to serve people and get the things out and get that process out and organize. So rather than sitting there and complaining that, Nigerians, they're always disorganized, they never can do these things properly, every time we come together, we're never doing things properly and so on, like people who stand there and moan, I was like, okay, I'll get up and do something about it. And that's what I did. Serving people, getting there and so on, and I just got all that organized. And at the end of it, I said, we can do this better. We can use the skills that I've got working for global professional services firms, project management skills, organizational skills. I do this for other businesses. I do a project plan every time when we start a project. So I'm like, let's plan and do it properly. So I put my hand up, okay, I will become an executive then. So the next election, I became a treasurer of the Nigerian Society of Victoria. And then I started building the community. As a treasurer, I didn't just stay there and managing money, but then even that just didn't just continue the same way we did treasury. There we send an email, let people pay their membership. No, I called every single person on our membership list. When it was due and they didn't pay, I would be on the call to them. I would be like that. I'll call them. So they knew me even more than they knew the president then. Everybody knew Fred, because Fred and our membership dues went up phenomenally. It went from, when we took over, it was like less than $1,500 in the account. For membership alone, after I did that, we got about $8,000 for membership, because people had never paid before and so on. I got them to pay. And also when I meet them at the event, I get their details, I get their numbers. So before we only had emails, I started to get emails. I started to get mobiles. I also started to get their occupation that they did. So if we needed to raise something, that came into power when that knowledge actually came to bear when the president then, Ike Nwokolo, then resigned and passed on the baton to me, and I became president of the Nigerian Society of Victoria.
Oh, so Ike was the president of the Nigerian
Ike was the Nigerian Society of Victoria when I was treasurer. And then I became the president then. And then now as a president, even a lot of people knew me through my treasury days because I would call them. But whenever we needed to get anything done, I'll call individual people. And because I also knew there were doctors or this type of people, I would say to them, for example, to raise money, to say, hey, come and do donations. And I'm calling you because we know that, you've got a generous spirit, and at this time, we need those members or like you who God is blessed to come and share that blessings around.
I like that.
And they did. We got our donations. Even when we brought Dibanj, we brought an international artist, Nigerian artist, to Australia. And I'll link that story to AMCF a bit later. But Dibanj, we needed to raise 50,000 to cover his fees. Through donations and business holders and talking that, we raised over 75. We paid Dibanj and actually had surplus of 25,000 in the account at the end.
At this point, was AMCF?
AMCF was then starting off. It was this story of Dibanj that led to AMCF starting.
Tell me about it.
So, AMCF, how did it start? We wanted to bring Dibanj for a Nigerian event. So we thought, let's go to the Victoria Multicultural Commission. Team 10 was the Victoria Multicultural Commissioner then, and said, hey, we got this international Nigerian artist. He's actually very well known across other African people, and they would love to, it will bring a lot of the communities together. It cost 50,000, come and fund it for us to bring Dibanj, before we thought about other ways of doing that, of funding Dibanj. And he looked at us and laughed. He said, I went with Ike because I was the treasurer then, Ike was the president. He looked at us and laughed. He said, there's no way in which I'm going to give you 50,000 because one, you're just one community Nigerians. He said, and also as Nigerians, you're not really on our radar. you come here mostly as highly skilled migrants and so on, and also very dispersed around the place. So, and he said, there's no way in which I will give you that one community.
Okay.
But he said, but if there was something you can do as a community to bring the wider African community together, then I'll be listening. We need to listen. Okay. If you can use those expertise you've got in your community to help raise all the wider African communities together and do something. He said, because all the African events he's attended has never been well organized, well delivered, well executed. And then he used this word. He said, because in his opinion, he feels the African community lacks capacity. And
how did that make you feel?
Now that was the fire in us that we left his office and Ike said, how dare he say we lack capacity? And because this was Ike. Ike was a senior lawyer, principal lawyer at State of Gordon, won awards. I was with, I think, KPMG or EY then, doing really good stuff. I also had some other friends of African with different professional backgrounds too. Say, we know with capacity. Yeah. So I said, what can we do to show him and defy this and take control of our narrative? What can we do? That he said, if you could do something for the African community, let's show him we've got that capacity. And we're brainstorming and he said, well, what if we do like a festival, like an event, and do like a music, cultural thing. And I was like, yeah, that will bring the communities together, but we execute it brilliantly. We bring other brains from all those professionals that we know to come and help plan it, to come and bring their professional expertise to bear on running this. And we run a first-class event that's well delivered, well structured, that everyone that is a part of will know, these people know what they're doing. No messing around, no African time, no whatever, those things. Do it well. And that was when the concept was came to Light of African Music and Culture Festival with Ike and me. And then that was soon after Ike resigned, and I became the president of the Nigerian Society of Victoria. I got a new vice chair then, Uche Unjoku, became my vice chair, Uche. And I told Uche about this vision that we had for the African community with Ike. Uche pondered on it for a few weeks, and then Uche called me and said, Fred, you know this thing about the African Music and Culture Festival you talked about? Let's make it happen. What are the next steps? Let's talk about the vision. Let's talk about the objectives. Let's talk about, and he did a course on strategy and setting up, vision and strategy for organizations. And he applied that to the AMCF concept with me and so on. That's why I say we've got like 3 co-founders of the African Music and Culture Festival. Ike and I were talking about it and the idea came. Then I shared it with Uche, and Uche was one that almost had my feet to fire and said, Fred, what are the next steps? What are the vision? Let's go back. And then we went back to the Victoria Multicultural Commission, which in turn, and said, we've got this concept, this Music and Culture Festival, bringing together all the African communities at Fed Square. And I was like, okay, I'll support this. But do you really think you can do it? And I was like, yes, we can do it, we can make it happen. So he supported us there and putting money into it. He put in like $10,000 at that point. And then we got Ike. He also got his organization, Slater Gordon, to support it. We got $5,000 from them. We went to talk to Victoria Police and told them about this vision, and they also helped support it. Interestingly, that commander in Victoria Police of the Priority Communities Division that helped us get off our feet rose to become that deputy sec that responded to my email, text message, to saying that. So talk about connections and networking. And between that time and that's at least 8 years gap between there. So building your connections in there.
And being intentional.
And being intentional about that. So build that. So anyway, she gave us that money and we found the rest through some other sponsorship and things. And it cost $32,000 in that first year. I remember Chintan coming to the event on that, even the day before I called the Fred. Is it really happening? I said, yeah. I'll tell you the schedule. It's all ready. It's happening. I said, okay. And he came there and he was walking around as if he was stunned. He was just looking like stunned. He was so impressed that we could do this. This is us showing we've got kind of capacity. Work with other African and Australians, with professionals like Uche. He's like a very senior manager and executive with computer share. And so IT literate, he does all the IT something for us. I won't call her the lawyer. We got a treasurer from who is like a senior HR, head of HR with Tesla. With Telstra. Yeah, and we've got our secretary who's like a lecturer at Victoria University and a top nurse, and many different people that we've got in there. So we brought some really good people together, intentional, so we could do a first class event. And that's how we did the first year, and we've been growing and growing and growing from less than 5,000 to 10,000 in the first year, to now last event that we had on the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of November 2025, where we attracted 52,551 people to our event. Last event, from less than 5,000 people in the first year. And
how long has it been?
That was the 12th year, so we're now going to our 13th year. AMCF is becoming a teenager in 2026. We become a teenager, 13 years.
In high school,
yeah. So we went from a budget of less than 32,000 to last event that would cost 420,000 to deliver. Yes, and that doesn't even account for about 183,000 in in-kind support that Fed Square give us. That if they weren't giving us that and we needed to make it happen, it would be over 500,000 event.
Oh wow!
That the AMCF does. Yeah.
Oh wow! And you've got a lot of corporate sponsors.
We've got lots of corporate sponsors.
And
a lot of our corporate and government sponsors stay there. We've been recognized by the Victorian government as a strategic event, and they give us a 4-year funding. Federal government is also giving us 3-year funding because they only go 3 years. So 225,000 for 3 years for the federal government, state government 400,000, 100,000 each year, and then we also got corporate sponsors that come in every year, and we don't hardly ever changes. We get new ones, we hardly have people that drop out because we also deliver for them. We don't say excellence in what we do. We don't just say give us money to come and do an event and then disappear. We work with them through the entire year. We say, what are your objectives? How do we support your objectives? How do we help you make that happen? When they've got events and initiatives, we get involved in those events and initiatives. We promote it. People like Center for Multicultural Youth, where at one point they were struggling to place some African youth, to attract African youth for organizations that wanted to have African youth. And we put it through our email distribution network and the social media. They were inundated with youth, African youth wanting to work in those opportunities. So much so, they filled those opportunities, but proactively went to other businesses and said, we've got some amazing youth here, come and have them there in your something. So that's why since then, every single year, don't just, it's like, yeah, send me the invoice and so on in there. They've been there every year. Victoria Police, where they had less officers, now they've got like hundreds of officers of African, because we help them promote it and make their organization more attractive. So we actively work with our sponsors throughout the year.
So it's not like just the one. You hear from us 1 month to the program, and after that we are gone.
It's not just about the money, and to us, it's about those relationships and really, keying into what we're trying to do, which is about African Music and Cultural Festival, largest African festival. It's about creating our platform for African Australians to showcase our skills, experience, our culture through music, arts and food to the wider Victorian community and Australian community. Break down those barriers. Come and try Ugandan food, come and try South Sudanese food, come and try Nigerian food. And when you can do this, and that food component has become so massive, even for other Africans that I've never seen so many other Africans and other African foods, and they have their own, come and experience your own food safari and your own African adventure right in the heart of Melbourne. That's what we're trying to do, and it's for everyone, absolutely everyone, to come to that festival.
Brilliant. So thank you, Chintan.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it was on fire.
Yes, for driving us to take action.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And Uche for, converting it from an idea into real life. Yeah. Uche, the vice chair.
He's the vice chair.
He's the vice chair,
Amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, Fred. Now this question, how do you balance all of this and family life? How do you do that? Because you're still there for your kids.
Yeah.
You're still there for your wife. How do you balance all of this, all these commitments that people, after here you have 2 more engagements. Tell me, I'm interested. How do you balance? How can we learn the art of balancing? Fred?
Well, somebody said to me once, when you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Look, I attributed some of my ability to juggle and handle so many things to also my training with professional services when I worked for Ernst & Young, KPMG, because they train you to deal with handle multiple projects, especially as you grow more senior. You handle multiple projects, multiple competing priorities, and work really quickly.
And deliver with excellence.
And deliver with excellence. So that's something. But then there's also passion. So I hardly watch TVs. Some people get home and they talk about this TV program and so on, and I'm missing out. I don't have a clue what they're talking about in there.
But you like it.
Yeah, because when I get home, instead of kicking off watching TV, I switch on my computer. I'm checking my emails on AMCF stuff, replying to AMCF stuff, thinking ahead about AMCF stuff, thinking ahead about some other community organizations, because I'm also not only active in the African communities, I'm active in other communities too. I'm on the board of the National Theatre, St. Kilda. So I also chair the Audit and Risk Committee. So I can read their papers, instruct their CEO on what their agenda items are, or deal with any questions and so on they may have. I'm also some government boards to the Victorian African Communities Committee, although that's just finished. We had a last meeting on last Thursday or last Wednesday. I'm also the chair of the Waterways Residents Association, my suburb, where I am. So I help make things happen in that suburb too. Like tomorrow, we've got Waterways Community Festival, which attracts over 750 people in the nearby community and areas. And we put on activities like face painting, African drumming, and bringing in African context to that. African drumming, animal farm, popcorn, Thomas the Tank Engine, lots of activities for the children to just bring the community together and celebrate, and also create a more sense of community in that. So we do that. At the end of the year too, we do a fireworks celebration to mark in the new year as part of the Waterways Residents Association. So I'm the chair of that too, and I make this happen working with my team there. My daughters just Navy cadets. They're the Navy cadets. Two of my daughters, it teaches leadership, and it helps. It's a really great skill that they can do whilst at school every Wednesday. And so as part of the Navy Cadets Unit Support Committee, I'm the treasurer of that Unit Support Committee. Africa Day Australia happens in the month of May, where we do Africa Day Gala, Africa's Got Talent, forums and sports competition in the month of May to celebrate African Union, the formation of the African Union. I'm the treasurer of that organization too. So lots of things happen. So when I get home, like 3 days ago was an AGM for Africa Day, and so before that I'd spent like the last 2 days about 3-5 hours doing the accounts, producing the accounts and putting them together. Those times actually, although it takes a bit of time, I actually enjoy it. Maybe that's my accounting background. I'm making sure things balance and making sure there's creating that story and making the story interesting on how the finances have gone and presenting it to people so they have an insight on that. Enjoy doing that too. But I do that. And also I'll make payments on their behalf and so on. But I've got I know how to work quickly. I know how to do it really quickly. But then also when there are things for my children, key things that I'm always there for them. I'm always like, I'll listen to them. Or even when I work from home, sometimes my lunchtime, I'll go for a walk with my daughter, and we go for a walk, we go to swings, we do things together. I give her all the time and so on and chat. I try to protect certain times, and also when I go to events too, I bring them along with me as much as possible when they can come. Like the Edo community event today, I want to bring my daughter, youngest daughter. My wife's got a few things she's got to do, and she's not feeling her best, so I'm like, okay, but I want to go with the younger daughter, take her to the Edo community event. So I try to integrate them in what I do, but then also too, I like to show them that when you're doing this for the community too, it's a good thing to serve the community. It's a good thing to be involved in community. It shows leadership, and they can see it, and they can see all the things I'm involved in, and they appreciate it. A lot of their friends tell them like, "Oh, I know your dad's a celebrity or something." I see. They follow her friends, follow me and tell her and so on, and especially when I do things and the premiere is there. So wow, your dad was there with the premiere and so on and so forth. So they also see those leadership things, and I see how that's also translated into their lives. For example, my first daughter then went for leadership position in school, and because she saw what I was doing, and then that encouraged her to be, and
again,
she was
what you haven't seen. She's got that example. And
became the international relations captain for her school. And also in cadets, she got an award of the one with the most leadership potential in there, and got the award. And she also was promoted so rapidly in there to become a PO in the time because of all that leadership things that she has too. And then her younger sister is also looking at what she's doing and saying, I want to be that way too. So they're also picking up from that to say, what else? How can I help others, and how can I be a leader?
Amazing legacy you're building here.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank you so much, Fred. One more question that I have. Where would you like to see yourself in 15 years? 15 years, 15 to 20 years time, where would you like to see Fred?
Where would I like to see Fred in 15 years time? Look, in 15 years time, look, I want to continue. In 15 years time, I want to grow African Music and Cultural Festival into an event that attracts over 1 million people.
Wow.
I want Qantas, I want Virgin Airlines, I want major airlines to say, this weekend the African Festival is happening, we need to put in more flights, increase our capacity because everybody's heading to Melbourne. I want hotels to be saying, this weekend booked our capacity because African Festival is happening and everybody's heading there. I want to get that for the African Music and Culture Festival. I know we've got to take baby steps. We've got to learn to crawl before we walk, before we run, and it will be steadily. And we've gone from less than 5,000 to last one at 52,551 people. And it will take a bit of time, but we'll get there. So I want to each year heading to that 1 million mark where the African Music and Cultural Festival happens there. So look, I'm very passionate about the community. I'm very passionate about AMCF. I guess it's a little bit of my baby, and just how we can continue to grow it because of what it also does to the wider community in terms of bringing and what we represent in terms of culture, in terms of happiness, and every single person that comes there really enjoys it. Breaking down those barriers to cultural understanding and tolerance. That's very important. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have enjoyed this conversation. I've taken a lot of notes, but I'm going to sit down, rewatch, and take more extra notes. Thank you so much, Fred. You're such a, I don't know, you're an epitome of wisdom, knowledge, perseverance, and that VENTO framework.
Yes.
Can I share it with?
Of course, you can share it. Yep, absolutely. VENTO.
Vision, excellence, networking, tenacity. And opportunities. Grabbing opportunities. Thank you so much once again.
When you do that, the world's your oyster.
I can see that. And I love how everything's come to full circle for you. And I know there is more ahead. There's much more ahead. Thank you so much for coming once again. I have enjoyed the conversation and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nachie.
Thank you so much for staying with us, sticking with us. I know you have learned so much from today's episode. I have myself. I'm sharing. Fred has been kind enough to share his framework, life's framework, VENTO, and I can see. I'm a living proof, and he is actually a living proof of the framework that it actually works. Yeah. And I can testify because I've been following this guy on LinkedIn, and every single day I'm like, oh my gosh, what is Fred not doing? But vision, excellence, networking, tenacity, and grabbing opportunities, making the most of opportunities. Like he said, Fred said, when the desirable is not available, you make the available desirable, and make sure that you're making the most out of the cards that life deals with you. Yeah,
absolutely. It's not what happens to you in life that matters, it's how you deal with it.
Thank you so much once again, and thanks for sticking with us. I'll be coming your way right again next time with another such remarkable African Australian leader. Stay tuned.